Ignore the ego or shut it up. Before we get into today's talk, I need you to understand and remember who you are throughout this video. You are awareness. You are not your ego. You are not the name you were given at birth or any other names you may have chosen along your journey in life. You are not your job title. You are not your parent's child or your sibling's sibling. All those things and more are the ego. You are just awareness. When you can truly understand that, only then can you manifest with ease. So as we go through this video, I want you to take on the perspective of your true identity, who is awareness. So you will be referred to as the real you and the true you. The ego will be referred to as, you guessed it, the ego. Moving forward, when you think, but I don't see my desires manifested, that clearly shows that those thoughts are only the ego's. You are awareness. You contain the ego. The ego is just a tiny fragment of what you truly are. The ego is not awareness, so of course the ego doesn't see it. The ego is limited in comparison to the true you. The real you has access to see every possibility. The ego, not so much. The real you can see and experience everything instantly. Thinking you don't see your desire manifested is just the ego's thoughts that you are observing. If you take the ego as being the true you, then you will not be able to see anything because you're identified with the ego who doesn't see anything. The ego doesn't become aware of something. They are the product of you being aware of something. The ego is like a young child that thinks they know it all. For example, the child wants to eat all the sugar in the world, so the child secretly scoffs down a bunch of sugar. When they are caught, the child lies and says they didn't eat any, and they even ask for more, as if they didn't have a ton already. The parent says, "If you eat a lot of sugar, your stomach will hurt." The child then responds, "No, it won't, I will be fine." The parent tells the child, "Okay," and proceed to let the child's desire play out. The child returns crying after eating a bunch more sugar. "Mummy, my tummy hurts." The parent tells the child, "I told you your tummy would hurt, but you didn't want to listen." Very quickly, everyone. If you are enjoying my perspective on awareness and the ego, please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you. Ego is just like the child, because they can't see their stomach hurting, as they have never had that experience, so they do not know better. As a parent, you try to teach a child before the lesson goes painfully, but it doesn't always go as planned. So the child has to experience the lesson in full in order for them to learn sometimes. It does not mean you no longer love the child and neglect them entirely. It just means as a parent who knows better, you don't put yourself on the child's level and identify as them. You love them and guide them as much as you can. If they do not listen, at least you tried, and you can rest assured the lesson will be learned at some point once the child is tired of the pain. As the true you, the real you, awareness, you are essentially the ego's parent. You know better than to identify with the child, but you may get triggered from time to time as you learn the ropes of parenting. As you learn the ropes of parenting a child and parenting the ego, you realize that not everything requires a reaction on your part. Not every single tantrum needs attention, just like not every spiral needs attention. Not every time the ego talks, you must listen if you are not in the mood. There are real times when you have to shut the child up because they are doing way too much screaming and silliness. There are times when you just ignore them and place your awareness on something else entirely. It is the same thing. The ego is going to learn and grow as it gets shown time and time again. It does not need to worry. Every time it wants something, it will eventually get it. The ego, again like a child, can be impatient at times, but the less you even listen to it, let alone identify with it, the quicker it shuts up and the quicker it ends up getting what it wants. Treat the ego like a child who is learning. Anytime doubt or negative thoughts, feelings arise, remember that it is not you unless you identify with it. Take your attention away. Know who you are, not do whatever you want to do to remind yourself of what you now have. You have to remember that whatever you are aware of it's here, and there is nothing more to it. If you are aware of something, it is. If you are aware of having something and aware of this being part of the ego's new identity, then it also is. If you are aware of something you don't like and don't want to experience it, and you are aware of the fact that you are not going to experience it, then it is, and you won't experience it. Awareness, where you place your attention and focus, is the real reality.